All right, let's move on. Everybody, welcome back. Of course, the Vancouver Titans are going to be in Toronto, and that's something we're very much looking forward to because they've definitely found their stride in a meta game like this one. The Boston Uprising are playing against them in this match. And obviously, some big changes to this lineup, and changes that people have been asking for. I think Askoff now is at the helm of this Boston Uprising team, someone who's been with the organization for a long time. So still in good hands here, and I'm very curious to see how this permutation of the Uprising looks.
Yeah, I mean, you are wrong when you're like, oh yeah, both these teams are out. Like, you look at the Titans' record, you would think they're out, right? But all their wins,
mate, it's 100 degrees in here, right? I'm hanging on. I'm telling you.
I think we kind of know what the Titans are now. The Titans are looking to be a pretty good team, qualify for the Summer Showdown, maybe in the upper echelon. We can take a look at their roster first before we get into like a more, I think, interesting conversation around Boston. I think King and Aspire is like a DPS duo. King has been looking pretty good on the Genji, but Aspire on the Sojourn has been tremendous.
I mean, I think he's actually league best in a lot of key stats. He's #1 in hero damage, #1 in railgun kills, tied for 2nd in solo kills, and he is outright 2nd in final blows on Sojourn in the Summer Showdown. That's insane.
Yeah, and something they kind of like talked about on the desk there, and like it definitely is true. Where you kind of see the Titans, like even before they started to win, once they kind of found this like lineup, right? DPay came in. You think about the match they had against Defiant, which goes to 5. Like, you see, it's all smiles, all laughs. Like, the positivity and the freedom, being able to play the game the way you want to be played, or the 5 players that are in there want to play it. There's a lot of power in that. To be able to feel like you can make those decisions and be able to really play the game you want and that's comfortable for you, and also to get some wins while doing it, where maybe things turn around here for Boston as they've made some changes, obviously.
Right, yeah, let's talk about the Uprising here, because there's a lot to be discussed. I think, Seeker gets brought up briefly, over in the truck, and this is a player that actually hails from Vancouver. So he's playing against his hometown in a sense. This player obviously had some success in contenders on that Revival roster, playing alongside Lep in many different contenders rosters. So he gets his opportunity here. Hitscan player, primarily. Known obviously sort of for Cassidy, Widow, Ashe kind of play. And obviously Crimzo comes back into the lineup here. In the past, we've known Crimzo as being primarily like Baptiste Arna. Zen plays Zen's disgustingly good. Alongside Faith, obviously, he's played plenty. In this kind of metagame, it doesn't really matter what it is that Crimzo is expected to play. You expect him to look really good. And Punk's stats on Junker Queen, very, very good, which is half the reason why people were so surprised to see him sort of sat on the bench here. A new look for Boston, a clean slate in some senses, and I love how the truck talks about the really conservative, flowcharty style that the Uprising showed, because that was something, if you watch Victoria's POV, you could see even in a Widow meta, he would never, peek out aggressively. He would always take the more passive angle, play safe. The Uprising have a chance to rewrite their bio starting today.
And they've been good, like you mentioned, when Punk has been in, right? Seeker, new young exciting player. Maybe we see some great things from him. And then also Crimzo, he's performed well when they've been in as well. It just seemed like they wanted to go one direction with the team, right? They acquire Mag, and it was not working out. They looked, they arguably looked like the probably the worst they've looked all season almost in the fashion that they were playing, where I don't think it's a reflection on those players individually. I just think as a unit, and probably just wasn't the one. Maybe we see something better from Boston today.
Yeah, and Crimzo presumably, well, he may come in and play Brick here. I think that's probably the expected look. Could be on Lucio as well. So far, obviously, Faith has been on that Lucio, and he and Master have really different styles of play. Master's much more aggressively oriented, and Faith a little bit more passive, is really more interested in outputting healing and staying alive a bit more. So their head-to-head's pretty fascinating. Stylistic differences, to be sure. And yeah, no surprises to see this Boston Uprising setup. I think Valentine has definitely been an excellent Genji player for this team across much of the season when he's had a chance to play that. But I'd be afraid of Aspire, especially Seeker coming into this is his, in a matchup like this. I'd be like, oh man, this guy's been putting up numbers, man. Seeker really has to show us something special straight out of the gates. It's a big ask.
And you got to think that the Titans come in with even a little bit more confidence, right? Seeing a team that's a bit floundering like the Uprising, on the other side, and they're making changes like roster-wise. You gotta kind of like smell the blood here if you're the Titans, right? Just kind of go for the kill.
And again, already going to be at Toronto, but that's it. Seeker, what a great way to start. Get some pressure off his shoulders with a beautiful elimination on Massa. However, as the sapling snaps back, the Vancouver Titans lock it down, even in a player disadvantage. Pretty clean end of the fight for them here.
I think the Titans also hit something pretty good with having Massa being able to play that Lucia, right? We've seen him have success in the Overwatch League in the past. He's been in for a few seasons now. And to see him back on the Lucio, being able to play this role really like full time, makes the shot calling easier here. Allows him to kind of play a role he's comfortable with. I think probably brings that veteran experience to the team that you probably originally thought he did, right? Now into the lineup.
Miro really vocal at the moment. You can see how he's trying to guide his team through this sort of situation. Navigating the reef pretty comfortably here. It's Crimso gets picked off early, and Miro is playing aggressively. The fact that you see a Joker Queen pushing up like this to tell you everything you need to know about the sort of matchup here. It's a very confident Titan starting to punish the Boston Uprising.
So the Uprising just gonna kind of stand outside their door. All right, Punk hits a knife, gets a little tick damage there, but they're gonna get back in here, and you see through the X-ray, Aztec is gonna take him a while to get back to the fight here for the Titans.
Miro a little low as well as a result of that. Much less healing in play, has to use a shout, and Valentine will just put pressure on that front line here. Crimso has the rally. No support ultimates up here for the Titans, but Mira's close to a rampage. He needs the health, and Seeker, great job. He's about 30% health on Mira. Seeker gets rid of that last vestige of HP with a nice rail gun, and that'll put Boston back in the driver's seat. But they spend both support ultimates to do this.
Yeah, I was going to say King ends up using the blade, and they end up using their last support ultimate, the sound barrier there, where that gives a huge advantage to the Titans. You can come in, sound barrier of yourselves, you have a rampage, should be enough to flip this point back.
Up to 20% now for the Uprising. Rampage, it's pretty good. Punk hitting the front line, Seeker in the back. You really want to at least get the Sojourn with that ability, and King is able to follow up. There's nothing Sojourn can do. If King's able to get close enough to Seeker and there's anti-heal at play, it's all over. King, good deflect timing there. Valentine going a little low as he tries to push up, and that's a flip of the point here. The Uprising now want to try and make something happen in this fight. Oh, it's 5 players caught with the Rampage. It's absolutely ginormous from Punk. Can you follow it up, though? A player advantage.
Will it be enough to take the point? Yeah, it looks like it will now, as for instance, like King could have jumped on and contested for a bit, dragged that one out. But yeah, that Rampage was massive. Gets all 5 players there. Now the Uprising flipped the point right back, so not that much gain there by the Titans. Really, that's about as good as you could ask for if you're the Uprising, right? Considering knowing what you're going up against in ultimates, ultimately losing that one fight, then coming right back and taking it.
Seeker trying to take this one into his own hands, but Aspire doesn't one better, downing Valentine. Yes, the disruptor shot gets a bit of space, and Seeker's able to respond. Both Genjis traded out for both teams. The Titans may be happy enough to slow roll their way to the point here. And Boston give up a bit of ground, even though it's a 4v4. Here's a red. Oh, Crimso got caught there. Not ideal. Unclear if he got yanked out of formation with a jagged blade, but either way, that's a bit of a sitter dropped by the Uprising.
Yeah, and Aztecs thought about pushing forward there and maybe going for the kill on the Valentine, because he wouldn't have been able to come back for this next fight, but opts to go back for the rest of the team as Boston will touch to trigger OT.
Here it is. Commanding shout from Mira. The Uprising go for the rally. They have a sound barrier as well. Support ultimates favor the Uprising, and Punk strikes first again. Oh, they're looking pretty darn good, the Uprising, to take this fight. But they spend both support ultimates again. I guess they feel like they had to there, despite getting a player advantage early. The Uprising, they're still in this.
Maybe they feel like they needed to. Maybe it's obviously getting this support line together, as we haven't seen them in a bit, as the Titans come back 99%. With a sound barrier blade combination at the ready. You also have that sound barrier to counter this Valentine blade that'll come through. So right now the Titans, I think, managing their ultimates a bit better as Seeker gets really low.
Oh, he's down. Yep, didn't get healed up quickly enough as Mira picks him off. The front lines come crashing together. Valentine can't find any with the blade, and King, well, he got exactly what he needed to. The 1 kill on Crimso will be able to seal the deal here as the Titans, pretty much on sheer weight of ultimates, come back in. And they'll be able to end the round here and now, surely. Boston looked quite competitive, I've got to say, but ultimately not enough.
I mean, it was better than we've seen Boston look in a while. It's kind of what I expected, to be honest. Like, there wasn't really a concrete reason to like move away from Punk in terms of how he was playing as a tank. So to now see him come back, continue that good play, try and get Crimzo and Seeker in the mix, and maybe you can start to go in the positive direction here for the Boston Uprising, but they still find themselves down 1 round.
Really solid round for Punk, 4-2, despite being obviously in a losing round. 42% blade accuracy. That's come up about Punk before. People mention how frequently he's connecting those. Mirror's 3-3 with 32%, just for your interest's sake. Let's head now into Garden. Solid start from the Uprising there. They were able to punish Aztec's overextension at one point. That was a real big turning point for Boston as they almost got back in the driver's seat. Look at King playing even further behind Aspire right now. Very slow. He starts to make his way forward.
You also have to consider, Mitch, we talked about obviously the Summer Showdown with the Titans already have made it.
Yes.
And their record sitting at 3-14. Boston at 5-12. Like, these two teams sit on the fringe of the play for the overall season playoffs. Where you win a game here, if you're the Titans, right? You get within 1 game, and you're going to get that 1 league point just for attending the Summer Showdown. So, like, not only is this match, like, pretty significant for the Summer Showdown, for the Titans, for seeding and whatnot, it's kind of huge for Boston in terms of like keeping a little bit of distance between themselves and the Titans in terms of the overall season plan.
Especially with Vancouver threatening to have a really good countdown cup, right? As they start to head towards playoffs.
Right.
Vancouver well positioned to be on a serious come up. Will they get to 500? No, but they don't necessarily have to, which is kind of the thing. If you peak at the right time in the Overwatch League, that's kind of all you need to do. I guess, seen that from a few teams in the past as they make late runs. The Justice, for example. What happened here? Oh, beautiful stuff there from Aztec. That's a very high value elimination.
Say so. That's another high value kill there as Seeker takes out Aspire at a distance. He's done that a few times in this series so far. Pretty good start here for Seeker on the Surgery.
Yeah, then the Uprising surging ahead now. Trying to make something happen off the back of that key elimination. Aspire will be back soon, but Mirror, can he get away alive? That's the question. He's being healed up, albeit slowly. And there's the sound barrier, keeps the Titans in the fight. They still have control of the point as well. The Uprising were 5v4 for a time and unable to convert it into anything tangible just yet. Seeker backs up, pops that ultimate here, a little bit concerned about Aspire, and across the bow comes the shot of Aspire. Aspire's found 2 in this fight. And the Uprising, that's a backbreaker right there, Matthew. A 5v4 turns into nothing for Boston.
And they go all in on that one, because now you're at 80. You're going to get probably like closer to 90% before this next fight kicks off. Blade plus Rampage here for the Titans. So they are primed to secure this map number 1.
10% left on the clock. Here come the Uprising by the bridge once more. Early damage on Seeky here as he has to play aggressively to get in position, but the Blade is threatening. Oh, King! Out over the abyss, able to claim Faith and send him down, and yeah, there's no chance the Uprising were touching under those conditions. A pretty back and forth first round. Some execution issues for the Uprising in the second leaves them shut out of the round. And Vancouver start with a solid 1-0.
Yeah, Boston nowhere to be seen in that second round as the Titans really asserted dominance. Aspire able to pick up some kills, but King on the Genji looked really good there in map 1.
Not too shabby at all here. Vancouver Titans, again, building up those wins and getting themselves ready for intense competition at LAN. Stick around, everybody. The Uprising, plenty of opportunities to make something happen in this series, and they look like they've got the pieces to make it happen. the tip of the spear, and the follow-up is there.
Rotation deployment to WGS Phoenix winning the fight.
Saved by Aztec.
Oh my god.
Even Skyle instantly deleted.
Oh my goodness. A little bait and switch, huh?
Welcome back, everybody, to the matchup between the Vancouver Titans and the Boston Uprising, here to cap off our Saturday of games. In head-to-head matchups, Aspire, King, and Aztec all very much coming out on top in that first round, and that manifests itself onto the scoreboard with the Titans having a comfortable early lead. A very new look from the Boston Uprising, and we get to really see, how that change sort of will show itself in the rest of this series. Again, control's always a bit hectic, but the next couple maps should be a great opportunity, Matt, to get a feel for this adjusted roster.
Yeah, I think Boston, you're probably, obviously this change is made so late. Like, you need to give this, I think, roster a little bit more time. Like, my hope is that they, like, commit to this, like, hey, we're going to play these 5 players for the rest of the way, right? And see what we got here. Because you're not really giving any of your players a chance if you're just constantly cycling in and out and in and out and in and out, and different philosophies where you've seen these players individually play well throughout the season, lead them in, and let's see what we got here.
Midtown, obviously, always an interesting map. Tests your coordination to a great degree. The amount of teams we've seen really get snarled up attacking on this map. And so much of that early action is predicated on, well, first of all, how your Genjis navigate the neutral. Sometimes Genjis sort of just get caught out because it's quite open. There's not always a lot of ways for Genjis to escape after they take a face full of damage. But also just like that first pick, right? What can your Sojourn do to sort of tilt the fight in your favor right off the bat? Some teams really known, I'd say like the Justice, for example, and the Rain really known for like relying on those. Other teams not so much here, so definitely worth keeping an eye on. Is Boston definitely want to sort of tighten up the screws after that last round.
Yeah, and with them on defense, we'll get a chance to sort of kind of see how they decide to play this as this unit, right? I know where they want to end up holding. This sniper shot's never resulted in a kill. And now we'll see. Okay, so Spire going to play the Ashe here. Interesting. So going with a little bit more, long range, a little bit of a slower, more decisive play style. Maybe they think they can punish this Boston Uprising team even harder.
The sidelines are quite long, especially as you wrap through the building to Seeker's right. Seeker obviously just plays around the fire trap. This is very standard Sojourn positioning for the most part. He's hoping just to find an insta-kill, as we discussed earlier. Good pressure, good damage, though, on Mira early. Can he be topped up? No, the Uprising turn up the heat at just the right time, but they trade into it. This is getting a little risky now. But Valentine makes his way into the backline and kind of shuts down any chance for the Titans to retaliate.
Yeah, good first defense here from the Uprising, getting really aggressive with the choke. Valentine able to take out Aspire, as he didn't really have much help back there. So, same thing. I think for Boston, Mitch, like you mentioned, I think this roster, like, they've looked good. It's just that they need a little bit more time to kind of get the coordination down, right? And maybe a little bit in the terms of the decision-making as well.
Aspire getting pressured as he approaches. You can see some of that chip damage making its mark. Everybody really wants to sit around him as much as possible, but Aztec is brought down by Seeker. There's that first pick potential we were talking about. And this should be another easy fight for the Boston Uprising.
Yes, the teams have, the teams like traded sides a little bit, and now Aspire and Masa still alive as they've been able to pick up some kills. Dynamite, that's going to do some good damage.
Valentine!
It's Masa's still here from the top rope. So what, you have Aztec here? You're not going to be able to like run in and make a play off of this, but maybe get some positioning as King's now back.
You saw the Dynamite pressure on Valentine, right?
Yeah.
He was getting healed, I think, by Faith. But it wasn't enough. His health wasn't going up because the Lucio healing and the Dynamite were competing. And so all it took was for Master just to breathe on him and he was down. Here comes King, pressure on for the Vancouver Titans now as they had a very close fight. They want the point, and so they rotate to it. Still being pressured though by Punk, and King is going to be very, very careful. No bleed damage on King, fortunately enough, so he can play from this high ground here. Almost 2 ticks and counting. Yep, it makes a difference. Bob's going to come in here as well. Rally from both sides. Mirror down to Seeker. Seeker having a pretty decent round in terms of these railgun hits, but King deflects that one back at him. And Aspire is in such a safe position here. Valentine can barely get close enough. At this point, is still ticking along. That was pretty stunning. Aspire has no idea what just happened.
His Valentine isn't going to be able to get down here and contest. Oh, he is going to just run right in and contest. Yeah. So see what happens when he gets back from spawn and where about. But I actually thought Aspire was huge there because like when they pushed him back into that corner, that's the really optimal spots for like Dynamite, right? Where they all have to come around. Hits a big one. And then the Bob, really good there, just blocking off the sight lines.
I still, you know, what we're 4 weeks into qualifiers, right? I still think we're exploring the differences between bringing the Ashe and bringing the Sojourn on a couple of these different maps and what they offer a team willing to field them. So far, I've enjoyed the looks from Aspire, but Seeker's been really impactful with some of these railgun kills. Look at that big Dynamite. Rampage was there, though, so it doesn't really matter what the Titans throw at the Uprising here. They're unlikely to look any better. Mirror realized he's out of options here.
Yeah, Rampage back that big. Nothing you can really do against it, right? I mean, just comes in, hits just about everybody. We're going to get even more aggressive here as Seeker's going to end up using his overclock. They're going to push right into the spawn.
I mean, this is pretty standard defensive fare, right? Play forward and make it hard for the attackers. It's just frustrating for the attackers to get through some of these chokes. Spawn camp, while quite popular with this kind of meta game, also pretty strong on this part of the map now, as you can use his fire engine to break up that line of sight a lot, but long sight lines on either side lend itself to your hit scan DPS. Valentine close to Blade here, and King's got his Valentine.
Oh, Mirror gets hit with a headshot there, just a shot from Seeker as he's going with a Rampage. So now you've lost that. That is terrible for the Titans.
Yeah, this spawn camp going from bad to just a little worse now. And the Blade obviously used by Valentine to sort of set that up. They've got both support ultimates, Boston. Again, starting to ease into this hole just a little more. Pressure is mounting for Vancouver. Yes, they have a support ultimate now up. They've used the commanding shout. Maybe Masa has to use that beat in response, and it comes too late to save King's life. Going from bad to worse here for Vancouver. How do they get themselves out of this situation? Seeker's still looking pretty comfortable now. Bob's got to get thrown into the mix here. Applying a lot of pressure, forcing Seeker to back around that light pole. Valentine does get rid of the mechanized menace, and Valentine doubles down. This is very dangerous for Vancouver. They are investing here, but it might be some cost fallacy unless King finds a little bit more action.
Yeah, as he's gotten 2, it's going to be King with 3 as he needed the rally. I think you can kind of feel the Titans felt like they were in dire straits. They needed to make a play there as Aspire now switches off of the Ashe to the Sojourn. Provides maybe a little bit of a more insta-kill potential there with the rail shots as he finally got this cart moving.
Yeah, pretty crucial, but I mean, look at the amount of time that they've lost. Pretty brutal stuff for the Vancouver Titans, especially for a team who lost the first 2 fights of the round, so was behind the 8 ball in that sense already. 40 seconds. The Uprising solidly hold the high ground here. Seeker reluctant to give that up now. I will just make a rotation, probably feeling a little bit exposed up where he was. He backs up now. The Uprising being drawn out of formation a little bit because of this pressure in the back line. It was King and Master looking to make something happen there, but Crimzo and Faith so stalwart. They staved them off, and the Titans are down to 3 players. Aspire at least able to equalize here, but no, they're done. They might have one more chance, but it's slim at best.
I mean, very slim. What are you going to have to do? Have Masa get there and touch? It's going to be almost impossible. You see where he is right now. So yeah, that should be it. So good defense there on that second point by the Boston Uprising, giving themselves a pretty good chance here to take Midtown.
Not too shabby at all, Matt. The defense looked really solid. Crucially, Seeker had a huge impact. 4 final blows, 5 deaths, obviously, so a lot of grind there, but was really able to find some key eliminations. 61% railgun accuracy, right? We sort of talk about how important it is to be outputting consistent damage from that ability, and again, 61 is up with some of the top players in the league, so it doesn't necessarily manifest in terms of overall final blows, but very solid round for the Uprising. A lot of grit demonstrated there on defense, and the Titans look like they weren't quite expecting that level of resistance.
No.
Already out of the gates, this new look sort of roster for the Uprising is getting some results.
I was going to say they probably didn't think that they were going to see that level of aggression either from Boston, getting right up to the spawn door. Kind of forces the swap off of the Ash. So let's see this. Oh, yeah, it just jumps right around the corner and probably doesn't think he's going to be the recipient of one of those fully charged shots, but little does Mirror know. Seeker had it charged up waiting for him.
You make a great point. Really, really hard to know when to sort of push up on a Sojourn for kind of that exact reason. Zarya tends to glow and she's well charged up, but Sojourn sometimes you just need to assume she can tear your head off at a moment's notice. So, one checkpoint and change for the Vancouver Titans now. They need to drill down on this defense and outdo Boston. I like it. Okay, Faith, briefly there on the Zen, maybe just out of the gates here, back, of course, to Lucio. He's had a great round as well. Really, the difference in healing output between these two teams is quite high. Faith, a big part of that. Ton of healing on this Lucio compared to Masa.
Oh, well, Spire on the Sojourn yet again. I was going to say, before we saw them come out on D, like, do we see them maybe try and play the Ashe on D, like a little bit longer range, but going to go right over the Sojourn, no messing around here as he's able to get that first pick. And you can understand maybe they want to work the Ashe in on certain parts of certain maps, right? They may think it's more beneficial, but yeah, Spire has been unreal on the Sojourn thus far this tournament. I don't know if there's a reason to change that.
Playing pretty safely here. He actually still has his mobility, so he's able to get away when pressured, but you know he's going to be chased out, and Punk actually notices that Aspire's forced to reposition. Both Sojourns are down right now. Valentine not really garnering a whole lot of attention playing around the fire truck as Mira's focused on what's happening on the point, and that's great for the Genji. Commanding shout here for Valentine, extra durability, extra aggression opportunity, but it's King who strikes first in the Genji column, and this is starting to fall apart for the Boston Uprising.
Yeah, they do get 46% though, so they'll have one tick already on the point. So when we were watching Valentine, they almost like didn't really pay much attention to him. And then when he went on to Aztec, that's kind of when you saw like Masa come in to help, you know, a little bit more of the amped healing. But I think you got to get on the same page with Valentine in terms of like focusing on the target. So maybe that's between him and Seeker.
Oh my, that's a lot of pressure. The damage from King there, the deflect looked good, and he's able to finish Valentine off with a lazy swipe of the blade. Punk taking a lot of slashes from behind here, quickly cutting the Junker Queen down to sides, and King's able to finish the job. And then just deflects, kind of just walks away, gets given a heal pack, and again the Boston Uprising are bundled up and rolled back onto spawn. That's over 2 minutes of clock burnt here.
Yeah, Vancouver is just much faster, I think, at recognizing which target they need to go all in on and doing that. Where Boston, you're seeing players like linger around a while on the Vancouver side of things with like lower HP, where they need to take advantage of that.
The exchange of ultimates in this next fight is going to be really important. Even if the Uprising lose but they come out on top in economy, they're probably happy enough with that. Oh, that's devastating for Valentine. Shield bash away from Aztec, keeps himself out of the reach of the blade. Now Valentine has to kind of stay put, and Boston need to commit, but Aspire's found Seeker already. My God, this guy is devastating. But Overclock yielding the perfect kill to start the fight, and Valentine won't be allowed to escape. Steaming hole, drilled through Valentine.
Oh, they sound barrier here too.
Oh, that's not good. Oh, like I said, even if you lose but can keep some economy, that's fine, but Fate makes a bit of an uncharacteristic decision there to recklessly expend the sound barrier, and they get nothing for it.
Yes, that's a bit rough. I mean, maybe they think the sound barrier keeps them long enough to get like the overclock and the rampage, but that's
oh man,
really
running into a
risky.
sound barrier in this fight, that is so scary. Masa has the answer for the rampage.
They also got to be able to get the rampage off, right?
You're kidding. You're just kidding. Mira chops Seeker up, somehow gets close enough with the rampage. Seeker, I think, is unaware of just how close Mira is to him. The sheer amount of damage is like 130 damage from one swing, right, from that carnage. It is unreal.
And Punk uses the rampage there, maybe thinking he can snipe a kill or two as they're pushing a little bit further up and give themselves an opportunity, but that doesn't work. Valentine on the point all alone is pretty good defense from the Uprising. The offense, not the same, though.
Aspire, 11 final blows for the map, 7 deaths here. The DPS for the Titans really standing up where it counted. Valentine and Seeker had a great start. But that second round, the Boston Uprising lost all of that vitality. Unfortunate as well to see that sort of sound barrier used in a losing fight. The old economy wasn't really there for the Boston Uprising either. At any point, they weren't able to find an advantage in that regard. Again, coordination and how that's communicated is really important. And this is a newer team, or rather, a newer look team. We still need to see if they can get some more reps in to nail that coordination. Stick around, everybody. Still another chance for Boston to show what they're capable of, but the Titans look pretty reluctant to give an inch in this series. And we are less than a week away from Canada's first ever Overwatch League tournament. The Toronto Defiant, who will be there by the way, are hosting the Summer Showdown presented by Bell between the 8th and 11th of September. Experience Esports live, play Overwatch 2, and come join the party. And be sure, of course, to check out the Bell Fan Zone for the best seats in the house. Looking forward to it. Obviously, we're heading out early next week, next few days. It's going to be quite exciting. Haven't been to Canada before. And again, it might be one of the best Overwatch tournaments to date. Yes, we're still going to see a lot of the sort of Junker Queen meta, I think. But you know, we really have a shake-up in terms of the teams, Matt, that are attending. One of them here, because obviously West Canada will be sending their representative over to Toronto, of course. Vancouver have qualified.
Different teams attending. The field's kind of wide open, right? You know, Dallas is looking great. The Shock have played pretty good. You know, all Summer Showdown, right? You got Toronto in the mix, so should make for some really interesting matches. You know, I don't think you're going to have many matches like we've had in some tournaments where they're pretty lopsided. I think a lot of them are kind of how we talked about the Justice versus Outlaws match earlier, right? Where we were like, anybody could take this. I feel like that's a lot of the matches that we'll see that weekend.
Yeah, no doubt about it. A lot to look forward to, and I think a lot of teams actually starting to ramp up to potential peaks here. And now, maybe just a little bit more parity, seeing San Francisco look a little shaky. A lot of opportunities for, you know, teams with top Genjis, Sojourns, Junker Queens to shake things up. It's always a different feel at LAN, always a different atmosphere. That's where kind of the magic happens. It's kind of why we do these things. So if you can get there, I strongly recommend it. Otherwise, tune in and join us. It's one of the things that really drives my passion for the job. Hopefully you're all on the same page there. We're going to have the Uprising on defense now. Seeker will be on Ashe.
You're going to take a little bit of a more defensive long-range approach. If you're Boston, why not at this point? See if it works, right? You know, get Seeker some play time on it. And I wonder if Aspire answers back with it. You know, didn't really get to see the potential of like his Ashe play, as I thought. You know, his Sojourn was really good. The Boston, you know, Uprising, which is really good at, you know, really not letting him get tons and tons of value out of the Ashe.
So pretty standard setup with the Sim TP sending you to the high ground here. This is basically the antidote to that annoying high ground hold that we see some teams take. It doesn't completely shut it down, but you just put one player on the cart, usually the Genji, right, and the rest of them here, you keep everyone's heads down with the Ashe from this building. It's a great way to just like opt out of like this frustrating sort of oppressive scenario that attackers have to play from here, and that car is moving well. Aspire has such a great vantage point here, but Seeker, the Dynamite connection, the reason for switching to Ashe, some would say, getting the Uprising off to a hot start.
Oh yeah, Crimson's going to find one as well, but see how long they can get this hold going for. They're going to have to take the high ground yet again with this type of composition. They can't allow King to get too close, right? Gonna get a dive up there on the high ground. Ashe not as good as like a Sojourn in terms of like defending against that.
Genji gets hit with the Dynamite.
On the high ground too.
Yeah, frustrating. Brig plus Dynamite. Genji gets hit with the Dynamite. You can't even give him a pack and send him back in. He has to wait it out. Seeker. Oh, great pressure from King here. Just connecting shurikens.
He doesn't have the...
What discipline? I guess.
He doesn't dash.
Have the dash.
No, he doesn't have the dash up. Yeah, if he had a dash
Still,
up
I thought he'd walk around the corner maybe, but respected like potential burst damage from the Sojourn. Maybe a body shot would have dealt him a hefty blow. Valentine is in the thick of things here with Mirror going down. Punk kind of looking very strong on the Junker Queen as expected. What is he cooking over there? King, okay, gets chopped down by Punk.
Bunch of ultimates coming into this fight, but Boston Uprising with a good defensive stand thus far. Payload not really making any significant progress. So what are you looking at? You know, Valentine Blade here. You got the sound barrier on the other side to counter that. You know, maybe the Bobs make a big play during this. I know, a little impactful.
Oh my! Nice Genji hit from Valentine. He hit 2 plays with that first slash, but the sound barrier timing is impeccable. And well, Fate's sound barrier just doesn't seem to be forthcoming. Bob will be dealt with here. He's barely a speed bump for the Vancouver Titans. And even though the Uprising try to sort of start that fight on the front foot, they get slapped back down. And I gotta wonder about the sort of support ult usage there for the Uprising. Like, is there a good chance to use that beat? But maybe there isn't.
I think they're just trying to hold it for King's Blade. They don't want to be without that support ultimate with the Blade coming out. Because if you use Sound Barrier there, you end up losing it. You know that they have Blade coming back in after that. You end up losing that too. So
yeah, makes sense.
It's your best opportunity to win this fight.
Oh, King shoots up like a firecracker. You know what he's going to do when he comes down. And the Sound Barrier is there for Fate. So ends up being saved for the correct occasion. The Boston Uprising don't want to give up the checkpoint. That's more important to them here, and King is just cornered. He gets removed here. 3 players here with that rampage from Mirror. Is it enough to break the deadlock? The answer is no. Punk at home in every which way on the Junker Queen pick.
Yeah, quite surprised that they ended up using the Rampage there from Mirror. I thought maybe kind of as soon as you lose King, you understand you've lost that fight, you come back, you have your own Rampage and seal the deal. But Boston putting together a really good defensive hold with a chance to prevent the Titans from even capping checkpoint A.
15 seconds left. Boston, some great looks here. Kind of what we saw in Midtown. Defensively, they look really good. Seeker's gone down here. And the rally for Aztec trying to compound the problems for Boston. Crimso's forced to reciprocate. Jagged Blade, no connect, but Mira still wants to surge ahead. Okay, shield bash away by Crimso. Respects Mira's lumberjack skills. And that's a nice knife connection on Punk. He's not going to be able to get away. All right, checkpoint here for the Titans in overtime almost.
The first pick by Aspire was really good on the Seeker, and then right there when they hit the knife in, Punk gets yoinked right into a Dynamite, and the ticking damage just so heavy.
All right, now the Titans able to at least build up some momentum here. Spy still on the Ash. Bob available for both players. If you can direct here to Junker Queen with that Bob, get that knock up, that really start to break down the enemy front line, but the Titans still need to answer the question about, oh my, the Dynamite and the Slash? That has to be premeditated. That's a lot of pressure right there. Okay, mutual knockdown between the Bobs. Haymakers being thrown here, rage in the cage between the Omnic bodyguards. And it's actually going to be the Uprising coming out on top there on virtue of King being taken down. Crimso pressures a little further here, and Boston again on defense, pretty sharp.
Yeah, Payload makes a little bit of progress there for the Titans, but Uprising, they do a nice job of reclaiming the high ground after it looked like the Titans were trying to take some of that there at the start. So now we get this pushed up, a very aggressive defense yet again from Boston.
Yeah, Punk being a little hard to shift behind those stalls here. Okay, they want to go aggressive here. Valentine pulls the blade. The commanding shout was there, but Mira intercepts Valentine with the carnage. Not easy to do. Mira's timed that incredibly well. We're going to assume it was intentional. Oh, man. Yeah. What a momentum killer.
So, yeah, that is definitely any type of momentum you had. Yeah, that is definitely a momentum killer. As you come back around this corner. This might be like last fight, though, with how like slow this payload goes around the corners and whatnot here. For the Titans, where you're going to have like the Rampages for both teams, maybe that's the difference here. Can Mirror land a big one this time?
Vancouver done pretty well here by sending King forward. Oh, he wants to play this. The Kai, okay, yeah. Interesting decision, I've got to say. Seeker's able to shut him down there. Sound barrier was forced out. The Titans may have another fight if they can disengage cleanly here, but that doesn't look like that's happening at all. Especially without a speed boost to get away. This is dangerous.
Yeah, it is not looking good here. It's Mirror will go in, and he's going to get taken out really fast. As this should be a hold here for the Uprising.
Okay, questionable stuff for the Titans there, but again, there was a long walk back off spawn. They probably realized they didn't have enough time. King tries to make the play by neutralizing any Uprising presence on that high ground. He runs headlong into a sound barrier and then gets blown to smithereens. A little bit awkward for Vancouver. You can see what they're trying to make happen there, but perhaps just a slightly more conservative approach may have served them a little better. Either way, Boston, it's never been their defense in this series that we have leveled questions at, Matt. It's been their offense.
Exactly. Can they break what will most likely be a close to the spawn hold here from the Titans? It's really been the Titans' defense that have won them some of the last map specifically, right? Let's see if it can kind of come through yet again. Aspire will be on the Ash, so I want to use some of that more long range, some of that high ground here on that hero.
All right, scoreboard clearly being used there as Mira and Punk are noting that their damage is the same for whatever that's supposed to imply for these two. I can confirm they both have 5,656 damage exactly. Yeah, King, I mean,
that is nice. The Dynamite on the ground. The Dynamite on the ground to the shot to the knockback. Yeah, that's a really good... I mean, it's good to use that against the Genji there for the Ashe. The issue is like that's also all Ashe has, right? Like you have to use everything in her kit to make it work.
Still it pays off there. Obviously a little hard from that perspective to see what King's trying. Well, you know what King's trying to achieve there. Sound barrier did get forced, but unfortunately the Uprising, unfortunately for the Titans, the Uprising made good use of it. Now, no Symmetra TP early, so the Uprising aren't trying to, use conventional methods to break this hold. They're just kind of got to go the old-fashioned way. Whether that's a mistake or not, we're about to find out.
So, Punk and Mirror both get low. So, be a dynamite around the corner here for Seeker putting down some damage. Oh, that's a big one though from Aspire, yeah.
Look at the heal pressure. Look at the tick damage is so impactful.
Yeah, it's so difficult with some of these comps. Like, I think the Ashe works really well where you have high ground or distance and there's like one real main choke you're kind of forcing the team through, right? It's kind of like the perfect scenario for Ashe, especially going against a composition that wants to stay close together, doesn't really have any healers who can do that at the distance. Ugh.
Look at Aspire's ult charge. Compared to Seeker, but in general, the Dynamites, 4-5 player Dynamites here, you cannot heal through that damage with Lucio and Brig and also go forward and try and top anybody up. It's so hard to push through.
It's way easier, I think, for Aspire to get these Dynamites down than like Seeker, right? Like,
oh yeah.
If you're Boston, like this actually may be where the Sojourn's a bit better, right? Just avoid the Dynamites and just kind of like play in that like middle range type of area, like play really aggressive and not really focus as much on the Ashe.
Right, maybe disrupt the shot is like safer zoning as well.
Yeah.
Bob here, pretty scary stuff. Throw that at the card and okay. No one knocked up, but again, immediately Valentine's forced to deflect, back away. Crimzo going for the rally here. Bob will be neutralized, but there's two support ultimates waiting on the Titan side of things. Big dynamite again, Matt. How do you fight through this? Again, King is there to follow it up every time. Commanding shout used.
The issue is when the Dynamites come, it forces you to use those commanding shouts. Now you're going to have to beat here, and for really just absolutely nothing, here's going to be the Blade.
I think it's a counterblade attempt from Valentine. Looking to chase King down. King is neutralized. He'll get packed. But we're down to 90 seconds left in the round here. Rampage is coming online. No support ultimates. This is going to be messy. Here it is. 4 players connected with on the Boston side, but Bob is a factor. Mirror can't follow up on the anti-heal himself. He needs to deal with big bad Bob, but King was able to go in and chase Seeker down, and again the key damage dealers have been plucked out of formation for the Uprising.
Yeah, you got a minute plus on the clock here for Boston to get it going, but it does not look great thus far. You're going to have to give up some space here to get Aspire back, but still, you can play from this next choke. It's the same type of idea, right? 2 spots for them to come from.
Punk wondering how he gets value from Rampage when he's pushing into a concave. And high ground control still being loosely held by the Titans here and there. King trying to make good use of it. Commanding shout from Punk. Dynamite used. We heard it go off. Rampage. Only on Aspire here. There might be enough though. Get rid of the Ashe and you might be home free. Crimzo just able to stay alive. Oh no! He was using the rally. He's brought down, but Seeker's doing work in this fight. 2 kills and the Carnage connection on the enemy. Genji for Punk. Seeker having a great fight here in the Boston Uprising. Finally come up with the goods. Finally. They have a chance now.
Is the cart in a spot where you can't challenge again if you're the Titans? Or do you decide to give it up?
You're giving up, I think.
Yeah, it looks like the way they're going, they're going to have some players sit on that high ground, and yeah, they're going to give it up. So 2 minutes and 30 now on the clock. Boston with an opportunity to extend this series.
Close, but no cigar for the Titans. On that first point hold. Similar situation that befell them as they attacked. Making use of this high ground, so critical here. Aspire has another bob, but he's well ahead of Seeker and they'll charge again. Although Seeker's bob was really nasty when it came out. Oh, big dynamite connection there, and Valentine's able to finish the job. That's big. Faith might look to hold on the sound barrier. No, he lets that one go here as the Uprising want to build some momentum. Fair enough. Aztec goes for the rally here. King's Blade doesn't yield anything. And the sound barrier now comes out from Master. Only 3 players benefit from it, and Valentine is holding onto the Dragon Blade. It's falling apart here for the Vancouver Titans as the Uprising are grinding them down.
Now you have this Blade here for Valentine coming up next against absolutely nothing for the Titans. Where Boston looking to take a map here, extend the series. Mirror going to get closer towards the Rampage coming out, but I know, you're really looking maybe a Spire here from the high ground. It's got to be the difference maker. Somebody's got to touch.
King gets there. Going to be a commanding shout immediately from Punk, though, and Valentine's Blades coming in from the periphery, trying to work the backline, but Mirror's already down. It's perfect for the Boston Uprising. What a way to come alive here, breaking through an indomitable looking hold from the Vancouver Titans, and they'll stay alive in this series. They're not done yet, Matt.
So Boston takes a map, sends us to a 4th map. What a push today. We'll get a chance to see that and see how this new look Boston looks in that game mode. But really good defense there from Boston, and then comes through on the offensive side finally.
Both Valentine and Seeker end the map with 11 final blows each to Aspiring Kings 7 respectively. See Valentine and Seeker really come alive in those last moments. Seeker gets that triple kill in that second to last fight. Big dynamite heal and damage rather, and follow up by Valentine to get rid of Aspire was crucial. Good looks for the Boston Uprising and positive signs for the future. But the near future is what's more concerning. This series is still on the line. Stick around everybody for map number 4. Boston Uprising keeping it fresh with a new look roster and keep it interesting in this series by taking it to the Vancouver Titans on Dorado. Again, a close affair as both these teams seem to be much better defensively, Matt, than when it comes to their offense. Neither have really plumbed the depths of any of our escort maps to a great degree. It's all about the defensive play. And the Titans were just a little behind the 8 ball on Dorado. Heading over to push, though, here, so trying to mix things up.
Yeah, both teams gonna have to play offense here on Coliseum, so we'll get a chance. Maybe Boston's starting to click a little bit, starting to gel, right? A little confidence here going into this map. I also think potential that like the first 2 maps, like the Titans were so good. Maybe started to take things a little bit easy, like take your foot off the gas a little bit, right? Well, let's see how they bounce back here. As I know Boston could really make this one close and interesting. Send it to a game 5 because, like I mentioned, a win here for the Titans. Obviously, still in the Summer Showdown. Nothing win or loss there that changes that. But getting to 4-13, you know, you don't really talk about 4-13 as a huge something to really kind of you know, showboat about. But getting to 4-14. Puts them 1 game behind the Boston Uprising. They get 1 league point just for going to the event. And maybe the Titans are actually able to, you know, win a game or 2, right? Let's say they get 2 points, right? Then it makes, for Boston, like, them even harder to get into the play-in for the regular season.
I mean, especially, like, okay, so let's assume Vancouver Titans, maybe that, you know, they're not top 4 or wherever they end up, right? You know, okay, they get selected by a really nasty team like Dallas. Okay, but they still get to play in the lower bracket. There's still opportunities to get league points there as well. So, again, the more of those you can accrue now, the play-ins are pretty robust. Like, there's a pretty... It's kind of hard to not at least, you know, sort of qualify for play-ins here. And when you're peaking now towards the late part of the season as you are as the Titans, your record doesn't really matter as long as you have a seat at the table, right?
As long as you finish in that, like, play-in window, right? Where you're kind of top 10, the 3 teams on the outside, no, in the bottom of NA or on the outside of the play-in. Like, you have a shot at the overall season playoff.
Yeah.
I think if you're the Titans, any way you can jump over the Uprising, especially, you know, a win here is crucial, but then getting some league points, right, is that's the last kind of opportunity to earn bonus league points at an event, right? Because we go right into the play-ins after the seeding games for the Countdown Cup.
Boston opt to play around the outside for the time being here. Want to close the gap. Don't want to drag this out if they can help it. Mira gets absolutely slammed in the front line. Seeker, though, doesn't, I think, expect to get jacket-bladed in. He's able to get away with his mobility, and King gets over the barrier here. So, pretty intense engagement. Not passive by any stretch, but neither team actually really able to strike a mortal blow. Seeker's getting confused by particle effects here, I'm sure of it, but he still stays alive. A lot of the healing resources have got to be pretty heavily taxed for both teams right now, and it's the Titans that draw first blood, and Crimzo and Faith, they look like they're in trouble too.
As soon as you said healing resources for both teams were taxed, looked over on the Boston side, and they had both of their supports at like below 50% HP.
Yeah.
And eventually they're just going to crumble, right? So that'll be the Titans who get in control of the barrier first. So yeah, it's kind of like these long drawn-out battles, and it's not as much of like that big. I mean, obviously, you know, big burst damage, right, where you can like kill a target, is great. But that just like consistent damage over time is what really ruins some of these comps.
And neither of these teams are incentivized, Matt, to poke for long periods of time because they need Inspire to be up. And in doing so, they need to have their front lines colliding. Great way to pick off Aspire there. He's just trying to play a bit of an off angle, but it's pretty easy to chase when you have 2 forms of speed boost at your disposal. Punk, nice knife. That's what I call a knife. Good man. Mirror brought down here by Seeker, so it's going to be tough for the Titans. Again, they're able to get some extra push during this fight. Sneaky Master. Able to advance the bot a little further.
Yeah, Aztec rallies during that too, which is interesting. They end up losing Mirror through when they got that rally going. So now it'll be the Boston Uprising in control of the barrier. Both support ultimates on deck. Maybe they can at least match the Titans' progress.
Oh, what a knife. Punk, my God. Guy's auditioning for Crocodile Dundee. All right. 4 ultimates up for the Uprising. That was a blade. Seeker finds Master at the start of the fight, though. So sound barrier, forget about it. What a great way to punish the Titans investing in this fight. You take the Lucio away, absolutely dominated.
Well, yeah, I mean, now you're starting to cook here a little bit for Boston. You see, when we go to the player cams, a little bit more smiles, a little bit more liveliness in the play. Is they'll end up being able to take the lead here. Yeah, a little bit of a bounce. Yeah, a little bit of a pep in the step here. Is they're going to take the lead, and this is going to be a blade here. As Masa will sound barrier, so not really going to result in much.
In fairness, Valentine obviously telegraphs that by dashing upwards at a 45-degree angle. Still a spike gets brought down there. This is scary stuff. The blade doesn't find anything, but the Rampage surely does. Boston finding another gear here. I'm thinking like where it might be in reverse sweep territory here, Matthew.
Yeah, I mean, things are falling apart fast for the Titans. So, this will be their next best case scenario. Well, so the good thing here for Boston, right, is you're going to get, the checkpoint here. So you won't have to deal with this again when you go back on your kind of push as Aspire takes out Faith. You won't have to deal with this again, so you'll be able to just run right on by this, where the Titans still have not gotten that on their side of things. So a lot of progress we made up here by the Titans if they're going to take the lead back again.
I'd say Boston probably knew they'd lost the fight about 15 seconds ago there with losing their Lucio, but hey, just buy a little bit of time here. You're not incentivized to invest any further, and the Titans would hate to burn anything in just trying to get the bot back under your control. So back to neutral here, and again, I remind you, these teams don't really want to poke too long. They need to get their bricks involved, and that's where the volatility becomes a factor. You see, there we go, straight away, Mira wants to charge forward. 5 minutes 40 left in the round, and the Titans want to make the most of what they have left on the clock. Good start, good Rampage connection, and a clean finish.
Trying to get Valentine there. He's really low, ends up making out with his life, but it's a fight they absolutely need to win. They have to get to the choke point now, get the checkpoint as well, and you'll have King with a blade, a free blade here. Nothing on the other side. King gets good value out of this blade. You could see them pass the Boston Uprising in a big way.
Aspire's not in position to get a first pick though, Matt, because he's actually the one on the bot right now. Interesting allocation of personnel there, but very, very close here. Okay, they got the checkpoint. Nicely done. So that's big for both teams. That also means that overtime gets scary because there's no sort of butt scratch involved. Both teams have achieved that. And now the Titans go ahead. Quite the back and forth affair.
Yeah, you didn't need Aspire pushed up to try and get one of those picks because you had the Dragon Blade. You're really going for the kills with the blade. As you end up getting one, and that's enough to give you the lead and then some now.
Well, Mira, I like that. Trying to swing around the corner with a Carnage. Fate takes a gigantic hit. Crimso's going to go for the rally here. Fair enough. The Titans, again, not incentivized to invest heavily in this fight because they are now ahead. It's 91 to 67.
Right, in the next fight, you'll probably see both teams invest pretty heavily about, mid-map-ish, right? In still, with this, big push that just came out of the Titans, a huge lead with half the time already gone in the game.
Old economy, though, really favoring Boston. So what Valentine can do with this blade now, if he just forces Master's beat again and just lets it go. The neutral fight, though, favoring Boston as well. They're able to catch Mira out. How crucial is this, man? A fight, a convincing fight win with no ultimates used. That is a big deal.
I mean, that is massive there for the Boston Uprising and their chances to win here, right? Because as we mentioned, the checkpoint's already been gotten, so you're not going to have to stop and wait. As soon as we get to the barrier here, we're going to start going. As you still have a decent amount of progress to make up, but with 4 ultimates, you think you're going to be able to do it.
Okay, shout here for the Titans. Beat from Masa as well, and Valentine says, okay, I'm happy with that. I'm going to sit on the bot now. But Seeker is brought down from the high ground, and Aspire has a very strong vantage here. 3 players still here with the Rampage load coming out of Punk. Looking to try and put the fight back in their Faith. The Faith even invested the sound barrier. That's going to actually pay off. Punk's found 2 kills, and Valentine gets rid of Aspire. And the Boston Uprising, they're not done.
Yeah, you have to if you're Boston. There's no way you don't invest the sound barrier there. You just don't. You're not going to have another opportunity like this where you're this close to taking the lead, especially. Yeah, but the chances of you getting back in that situation, or in a better situation with this much time on the clock, is just not great. I actually like the decision there.
Yeah, the foresight to make that decision is great. But how about this one, Matt? Rally from Aztac, still dead to Punk, and Seeker's able to find a kill to start the fight. This might start to blow out of proportion. The Vancouver Titans are losing their footing.
Well, still some time here for the Titans, right? You're going to have to get this back in your favor. They're really only like, what, a little bit more than 10 meters behind currently, 20 meters behind now at the moment. You got to get this rally out, ideally without using, like, the blade, but you may have to.
Yeah, blade does get used here. Pretty back and forth stuff. King needs to kill a catch. A 3v3 with a rampage, so it has to favor the Titans as Valentine eventually succumbs. Heavy spend for the Titans to get back in possession of the bot. And with the Uprising in a lead, with 2 minutes left in the round, this one could go either way, but you're happy with Boston because you win multiple fights, Matt, against support ultimates of the Titans.
Yeah, you win multiple fights. I think the one that you mentioned where the Boston Uprising won that fight for basically free without having to invest anything, if they end up winning this and forcing a game 5.
Yeah, the neutral one.
Yeah, that is the fight that ends up doing it for them. So.
Yeah. Crazy to think back to that because it's like halfway through the round, right? It's like 3 minutes ago.
3 minutes ago, yeah.
Yeah. Can the Titans sort of do the same thing? If they can do it here, they'll have to, you know, like, I mean, they can't spend anything, but if they can save the sound barrier, that could be a big deal. Blade, nah, maybe just use it. Yep, Master erring on the side of caution, gotta respect it. Another blade shut down by Valentine and a rampage. You won't forget about quickly. Another lovely one from Pumpkin, oh dear. The Vancouver Titans are gonna have to dig deep now. It's a sound barrier spent and a rampage to punish them.
Yeah, and if you're the Uprising, you don't even really necessarily need this bot pushed all the way. You just want to get it really far, further enough to make it a very difficult trek here for the Titans. So,
this ends now.
Overclock here from Seeker. A few kills here, which be, you know, a GG.
I mean, talk about paving the way. I love it.
Ooh,
Great connection
okay.
from Seeker there. Mirror drops. What a day. What a game from Seeker. Aztac getting run down. Seeker still needs to respect that, but this is it. 18 seconds left in the round. The wailing, the moaning, the gnashing of teeth of the Boston Uprising fans saying, bring Punk back, bring Crimzo back. Finally been answered, and now this team is looking to take it to a map 5. Mirror gets knocked back at almost a full completion point. 06 meters remaining. A very small distance for those keeping track at home, and a sound barrier now comes out for Faith. Crimzo invests with the rally as well. Flags waving as the Boston Uprising get it done here on Colosseo, and in the end, it's pretty darn convincing.
Man, what? After map 2, this is probably the last thing I would have predicted, but the Boston Uprising have found a way. They have, you know, forged a path to a game 5 here. And they've looked great over the last 2 maps, right? Really strong here on Colosseo. Good usage of ultimates. I know consistently it seems like, I know maybe at the beginning of the series weren't exactly comfortable with this lineup, but now definitely looking like it.
I mean, it looked kind of close at times, that map, but in the end, 52 final blows for the Uprising, 20 for the Vancouver Titans. Seeker is 17 final blows to Aspire's 5. That is a huge gulf between those two players and a huge part of what propels the Uprising to victory on that map. They're on the come up right now, ladies and gentlemen, and so this map 5 is not one you want to miss. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this gentleman's finding all the snitches in the right places right now. Seeker with a ridiculous map foreshowing on Sojourn, completely eclipsing Aspire. 17 final blows, 5 deaths. That's some nice numbers, Matthew.
Yeah, real dominance here in the Sojourn on Coliseum with can he do it again? And can the Boston Uprising make a what seemed like an hour ago, like an improbable run, right? They were down bad after the first two. Dorado wasn't looking pretty. They battled back there. Coliseum, they really turned up, felt like. Ended up winning that one in pretty solid fashion. What in the world happens here in our Game 5? I mean, can Boston continue this level of play? Do the Titans still have something in the tank, right, to turn it around?
I just want to make it clear as well that we talked up Aspire coming in because he has league best stats in hero damage and railgun kills. And he's tied for second in solo kills, second in final blows. So the fact that, you know, he's getting outmatched in the 1-to-1, which is not always relevant because it's not a 1v1 game, but the fact that you know, so much greater impact is coming out from Seeker says one of two things. Obviously, either Seeker's incredible or Aspire's having a tough day, or maybe a little bit of both here. Either way, it's a great look for Boston, who are definitely trying something new, and I definitely feel like they're kind of playing with house money to a degree here, at least here in the Summer Showdown, because they're thinking more about the, well. Sure. Well, I mean, like we discussed, like how they could be gate kept out of play-ins, right? So they don't have much time to get it right, but they have no choice, Matt, but to try and make it work with it.
Well, we've talked about it from Vancouver's perspective, but from Boston's, you win this. That leak point that the Titans get from the event isn't that scary anymore, right? Like you've kind of put yourself with that buffer yet again. Where, yeah, I mean, you're still like what, like at least 2 points up. Like can't remember if Boston ever got any points from like any of the events. But just off of the records, right, you'd be in a much better spot winning this series.
6-12, not overly flattering, but enough in many cases to come out of the Summer Showdown with. So here we go, into Nepal, ladies and gentlemen. Sanctum's up first. Again, standard setups on both sides, and we'll be fighting over this right-hand side. Again, a bit of poke here. Seeker goes low. The Uprising has to be very, very careful. Hard to heal that up quickly. Yamasa sees it. He wants to speed his team forward, and they get what they came for, Matt.
Yeah, that's really aggressive back into the corner there by the Titans, using the speed boost to put King and Mirror in a position to rack up some kills right now. Let's see where they decide to play. Looks like King moves into the choke, but may want to just kind of like observe a little bit here at the start, see where the Boston Uprising want to attack from, and then fight.
I like that, being on Master's POV in that previous fight, because you can see the exact point at which they decide to flip the switch and go on the aggressive after an extended poke phase. That's a repair pack used on Valentine. Seeker will have to take one as well. So I don't think you have any left if you're Crimzo right now. You might want to go for it yet again here, while the healing just isn't very good. And so they do. King comes forward. Punk very, very low. You have to amp heals here, I think, to try and keep him in the fight. Fate trying to get away. Well, no amp heals available anymore. Hasn't been used. It's too late. King gets caught. He sort of suspends himself in front of the Boston Uprising backline here, but he's done his job well and truly. Punk's healthy enough. He'll try and make his way towards the point here, but Aspire, I mean, he takes Valentine very low. And what a finish there as he comes across the point. Classy shooting.
Yeah, as he's trying to get Faith as well, as he's not really getting a ton of benefits from the rally over healing, and that's going to be a commanding shout, trying to get everybody topped up a little bit for Boston as they want to battle this out.
Punk's getting so much work done here, even in a short-handed fight. Good pressure. Now they can start to at least threaten a capture. King will step onto the point and expose himself a little bit to some of that poke here. You can hear those shots being fired off by... Oh, dear! Okay, looks like Crimson got away with that one. Looks like he shield bash towards the point. Looked a little risky. Punk there with the Jagged Blade. King unable to deflect enough damage, and here's a Rampage catching the back line of the Vancouver Titans. Aztec rallies this? Oh, if he can stay alive, it would be huge, and he and Massa do, but they lose Mirror in the process. I don't love it, but the Titans are at 88% here, so decent lead, at least.
Yeah, that rally, you may want that one back, though. Yeah, that one, you could imagine you had a rally coming into this fight. You feel a lot better if you're the Titans.
Man.
You do get to just a little bit under 90% on the point. see how they go about and attack this. I mean, this seems like a little bit of a junk fight that you're going to have to fight here for the Titans. Oh, they rally going on in. That'll be the sound barrier in response, but you're going to get Seeker.
Yeah, Valentine is healthy though, so he goes super aggressive and finds 2 in the backline, both DPS by the way. That's big. This fight still hangs in the balance, but you've got to give it to the Uprising on virtue of then controlling the point here, but very quickly, Aztac and Masa want to make something happen. That trademark aggression from the back line of the Titans starting to show through here. That's the Portal combat over on Sanctum. Oh dear, Masa eventually has the back away, but there's a blade. There was a boop early though, as King was forced away. And the Vancouver Titans in the 2v2. Well, you love to see those.
So now you're going to get close to victory here. We're going to have a few players going to trickle back in here for Boston to be able to touch. So Crimzo with this rally, you have to get it. You cannot let Crimzo die early here.
Disrupt the shots, 2 of them thrown down on the point. Marcy is able to get the sound barrier off now. You've got to go aggressive, chase after them. Seeker's low. The Titans don't care if they have to push up the point as long as they can win the fight cleanly as they're in overtime here. Punk eventually is going to be forced to succumb. Rally here from Crimzo. Not quite the rally jacks that we saw on Dorado, but not quite enough to save his team either. No knife connect there. Faith is going to be brought down though. Valentine is grounded and it's just Crimzo. Forced to give up the GOAT. The Vancouver Titans here with that first round in this map 5.
Yeah, as they start to, it's so weird though, Mitch. Like, where was this Titans the last like 2 maps, right? Saw a little bit on Dorado, but then they just started giving up a ton of space. Like, where was this Titans on Coliseo? As we have King potentially hovering over the May here.
I wouldn't hate it. King, by the way, really nice round just now. That boop though, that boop with a sound barrier in play. You just sent 1,000 HP over the edge. I'd be very pleased.
We see the May play a little bit more controlling around the objective.
I like it.
Yeah.
We've seen London so annoying to play on maps like this we had in High Rises when they've got that May in their composition. It's really nasty. Can you punish Punk though? That's the question. He's not nearly as aggressive as like, say, Kalios.
Well,
okay.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, forget about the main. Yeah, don't worry about that for now.
Oh, it's another shot there on the Spire. I was actually going to say that May is probably pretty good because if, you know, the other team looks maybe a little bit uncoordinated, right? You can take advantage of that.
Absolutely.
With the May, as Seeker gets quite low, it looks like you're going to be able to heal everybody up.
No way, Mirror survived that. He goes down to 10% on 2 separate occasions in that fight, and eventually Crimzo's the first one to go down. Nice work by Valentine though. Oh, he's got so many targets that are just so low. Genji, if you survive late in the fight, play a safe neutral, and there's all these targets that are getting slowly healed up by Lucio's unamped heals, you can go to town.
You didn't even really see, Valentine didn't even really have to use any of his, you know, primary or secondary fires. He's pretty much just dashing from target to target. They were all so low from just taking damage from really just everybody, like over time, as Seeker is like almost doubling up here, Aspire, in terms of charge towards that overclock, so you know the damage that he's been putting in.
The Titans want a close fight. The Uprising have to opt out of it to a degree. Yeah, see, that's what happens. The cone of silence goes up there, but now the Uprising are ready to commit. They trade Brigittas. Valentine forced into a deflect here. Blade ultimately yielding very little, but Seeker is at least able to take the May down again. So the Titans don't benefit from that consistent damage from the endothermic blaster. Again, they lose May far too early in the fight. That's pretty scary stuff here for the Titans. This pick is not working for them.
No, and what do you do? I mean, do you just give up some of the ultimate charge and swap at this point? If you do that, you're probably most likely not even looking at a Blade with how these fights have gone. Just be a really kind of like sad, a little bit of a throwaway round here for the Titans. As block has to be used early, they get a Spire. I mean, this is ugly.
Yep, not good. Not value. I mean, not high value use of the May in these fights, unfortunately. The Titans not able to really maneuver into a position to get value there, and they get absolutely crumped.
Can you get high value out of anything if you're losing a player, but like before you even get close to the objective? I feel like every single time they've lost a player on the way in. So this would be a really odd start to Nepal with 2 back-to-back like blowout rounds. Now we see the Genji swap, so you never ended up getting the Blizzard, and you're most likely, unless you flip the point here, not going to get the Blade.
Oh, did it get early? I mean, King is, well, definitely not having the same impact that he did in the previous round. That's as nice as I can put it. Nice rampage connection there from Punk. He catches 3. King is not going to get back to the fight in time. Another rail kill for Seeker. Looking very dangerous there as Carnage makes it mark as Massa falls. And we will have a 3rd round here on Nepal.
Oh, and I think you put that May away. I do not think you
stow
think
it.
about running that again.
Absolutely stow it.
It's it's like, well, we saw, you know, London do it and they were effective with it, and it's like, well, maybe put it away. Let's not use it. So we'll go back to the Genji here if you're the Titans. See who kind of gets the best in the mirror. It's been back and forth throughout the series. I'd say, like, right now, kind of definitely trending more towards the Uprising, right?
Well, we just saw around there where the Titans had a game plan and they couldn't actually play to any of the strengths of it.
Yeah.
Right? They don't get to be on the point. And when they do get on the point, they're usually a player down. Not saying that it's particularly excusable, but that is what happened. All right, out of spawn we come here. So back, obviously, to the Genji. The silly lad Juice has been put down. It'll be the Uprising playing for point control early.
So Boston takes the side of the point. So, you know, they kind of have the point at their back here, which...
Oh,
someone's going to kind of force the Titans directly into them.
Oh, and he gets Massa as well. How is that rewarded? So aggressive. Still, though, I mean, Mira, if you're catching anybody, you get instant 90 damage off that Carnage. It's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. As like you mentioned, Seeker pretty far up there. Kind of miraculous he gets 1, right? Yeah, could have got knifed, could have got gripped in.
I have to give the benefit of the doubt anytime I see like a Sojourn deep within an enemy formation, because the Jagged Blade, hard to spot sometimes. It doesn't represent up on the scoreboard, and it's usually a good explanation for why a DPS plays in Narnia. Mira really...
Boston
trying to play
kind
forward,
roll
Matt.
up onto the point. Yeah, I mean, that like there wasn't really any kind of like setup or like go for positioning. It's just they just march straight in.
Got to appreciate Mira's evolution, I think, as well as a player, Matt. Going from like sort of like a sub coming in, looking at like a lot Doomfist on this Gladiators roster that looks like they're heading in a different direction, now to like a real leader, calling from the front line on this team. You can obviously see him on the player cam. They're really coordinating. Great little glow up for a player that's been around the league for a little while now. Rally here from Aztac. Good timing as well. Able to save King. Mira, though, under a lot of pressure, and Master's beat is just too late to save his life.
And then the rally comes through from Crimzo here late. It'll be the overclock from Aspire, and it's just making it like deadly to even go in and try and make a play for the point.
Okay, if Vancouver can force Boston to Blade here, they'll be very happy. Looks like they'll give up the point instead, though. 71% seems to be enough for them, but the Uprising have a chance here. Remember, it's a reverse sweep on the line and a safer postseason for this team. Valentine Blades looking for King. Deflect for King. Able to get away with it there as that Blade is shut down. Neither Genji really getting a ton of value.
Bizarre. Both Blades go for nothing against teams that both have no support ults on the other side.
Yeah, they respect each other too much. The Genjis end up just fighting one another. 3 players hit with that rampage, and it's going to be 2 backliners for Punk. Man, this guy's Junker Queen is nasty. And that'll keep the Boston in the hot seat.
Yeah, as you'll have an overclock coming in here for that next fight, but man, both Blades popped, then everybody just kind of like jumps around and looks at each other for a bit. A little bit of damage put down, but not really anything huge. Is Boston going to get close with this next fight? That if you can win this one here, especially just kind of like using an overclock potentially and dodging this rampage, you set yourself up to steal this series.
Again, the Spy's been really quiet, Matt. Less final blows than Aztac right now, or maybe that'll change after this fight. Seeker, what is going on? Excuse me. That's 4 for him in the fight. 3 of them, yep, drop them. Drop the twinings, lad. Give him a bit of raspberry as well. The Uprising are now even. This is getting awful close, and that reverse sweep possibility starting to materialize.
I mean, they go in with a rampage. They get a hook really kind of on a Punk early. Let's see this from Seeker's POV. Just popping off here at the end. I mean, nice shot there. Ooh, that is clean. That is not one where everybody's lined up. Those are tough shots.
Here it is, the Titans getting pressured now. Aspire getting left behind. Valentine just in his element here. Great aggression, the Uprising try and preempt the Vancouver Titans and start that fight. They look calm on the outside, but you know how close they are to this reverse sweep. Unbelievable stuff. The Uprising are asleep at the wheel for the start of the series, and Seeker will sit on the point and claim his prize. The Uprising complete an incredible reverse sweep. New coaching staff, they take a chance. Punk, Seeker, Crimzo in the lineup, and they get a huge result against a team that's been incredible so far.
Oh, man. I was just laughing at Punk doing the L Fortnite dance there, just into the camera. But this is a team, the Boston Uprising, right? Like, these are players they've had around. Look at that, you know, Mag celebrating with the crew. Like, these are players they've had around, right? I know Seeker, I think, has been on the roster for a bit, but didn't turn 18 for a while. Where now you have him in the lineup. You bring in Punk back, who clearly is a difference maker. What's sad for, you know, Boston is, like, in a win here, it's like, this could have been like kind of what you played all tournament long. Is you know, you see how kind of relieved and just happy Punk is there. Is like, his season has been all over the place. He's been in, then he's been out, and really like out for not like any
every time he comes
reason.
in,
Like,
he puts up incredible showings.
They come in,
inexplicable.
yeah. He comes in and they win, and then they just take him out again. Just really bizarre, but good to see him play, and you know, Boston success today, and that's a huge win, right? Makes it really hard now, like where the Titans have to play really good in the Countdown Cup to end up overtaking the Boston Uprising.
Is this the fabled Ascoft gap? Is that what we're seeing right now? Great look here for the Boston Uprising. I'm such a fan of how they've managed to turn things around in a match like this. Even Mag and co getting involved in the celebration, because whether you're playing or not, this is a huge result for this franchise. Some life stirs amongst this roster. Your player of the match here has got to be Seeker. Incredible showing. A player that, you know, at Overwatch League level, we know very little about coming into this matchup outside of some history, but he comes out and frankly works one of the top surgeon players in the whole league in the neutral, utterly, especially in the back half of that series.
Second half of the series. Yeah, second half of the series. I think everybody from Boston was a little bit lifeless at the start. But man, did he really turn up when it mattered the most, right? Maps, you know, 3, 4, and 5. Absolutely fantastic on the Sojourn. Definitely gave them a lot of energy and life today. So really excited to see what we get out of this player in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Seeker stats there as well, obviously, maybe hampered by how those first couple of maps went, but Dorado is where that momentum really started to shift, right? And it was also Seeker that managed to turn this 3K on defense as they're getting pushed into the second part of the map, turn that into a win for this team. I don't really think you can overstate how crucial this is. Not just on paper. It's nice to get a win here, of course, and have like a more competitive postseason. But the prospect now of this team getting some, you know, official match experience and adapting midway through a series and finding their strength against a team that's kind of beating a lot of really impressive rosters so far. This is incredible for Boston. Very pleased.
Yeah, you'd love to see those Seeker stats like over maps 3, 4, and 5, because like we talked about, like, and you can see the scores at the bottom, like maps 1 and 2 weren't really it for the Boston Uprising, but you know, once we got to that third game and then we got to Coliseum, they started to really turn up. And that final, you know, the first point didn't look great, but then, you know, the May really kind of like took all the wind out of the sails of the Titans, right? I mean, that May play there, we've seen a lot of other teams do it, but Boston was not working against them. It gave them tons of confidence. Who knows what we see out of the Boston Uprising moving forward, right? This is a team that they win, you know, historically they win a match like this. You know, we'll never see these players again, but you know, I'd love to see these players stay in the lineup and give them some more time.
Man, you had to do it. Great stuff here for the Boston Uprising.
Did I lie?
No, sadly not there, but now everybody's been asking for this, right? Punk comes in and basically he carries most of that last map here. So anyway, they're trying to get us out of here, chat, so we're going to have a post-match interview. We're going to soak it all in. We're going to catch up with the crew from the truck here. Toronto's fast approaching. We've got some more games tomorrow, of course, but for now, let's head over to our experts in the truck.
Genji.
All that.
드디어 이겼다.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Upper Deck, the official trading card of the Overwatch League. And by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
Welcome to the Watchpoint Post Show. I'm Reinforced, and I'm joined by Crimso from the Boston Uprising after reverse sweeping the Vancouver Titans. Huge win for you guys. Look, I just gotta ask, you're down 2-0 to the Vancouver Titans and you go into Dorado. Like, what's going through the team communications at that point to start this reverse sweep of yours?
I think just like the first two maps, we were just kind of trying to find our footing. Obviously, you know, coming in with a kind of fresh roster, not too much time to practice. We were just kind of finding our footing. Obviously, you know, Seeker's first match, just overall just trying to find the key to victory pretty much. And then, you know, we talked in between the maps, and then, you know, come map 3, you know, we felt like we had like a pretty good idea of what we needed to do. I think just overall we knew that we had a really good chance of winning, and you know we just trusted the process and just kept it going.
All right. What were some of those changes? Were it like a different player you were focusing down, or like some ultimate coordination missing, or what was the change?
No, I think it was mostly just kind of like ourselves. It wasn't really like it wasn't any of like their players or like even like their strategy. It was just mostly just us kind of like figuring out like what to do and playing like we do in practice, because you know there was a lot of energy. But, you know, sometimes energy can be like a bad thing when there's too much of it. You know, that's an example of like, you know, something that went wrong. But I think we just like we found ourselves, we found the right flow of the game, and you know we just figured it out and we just kept going from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there were several times like Seeker, for example, would just pop off and like, you know, really get into it. So, you know, it seemed like emotions were running high. You mentioned, of course, you've had a pretty busy past week, of course. Head coach Laurie left the organization and you've since moved on. You went from an all-Korean roster field at most of the stage to now, of course, you were in the lineup with Seeker and Punk as well. How was sort of this past week for you guys as a team? When did you find out that like this was the roster you're going to play with? And how did you as a team like adapt going into today's matchup?
Yeah, I mean, oh man, it was like we found out we pretty much had like a week to kind of like cram as much information as we could. You know, we're going up against, you know, teams that have like months of practice, and you know, some of us obviously have been like not playing for a while. So it's been a really hard week for us, but you know, we continuously kept trying our hardest and figuring it out, and eventually we were able to pull out the win. And I'm just so proud of, you know, all the guys and how hard we worked.
Yeah, I mean, huge result for you guys, of course, coming off this week, so maybe something to build up for next stage. Now, this was Seeker's first match, as you mentioned, of course, and I mean, he had some incredible moments, especially there to cap it off on Nepal as well. As a player who's spent time with Seeker, like, how would you describe him as a player and as a teammate so far?
I think he's a great guy. He brings a lot of personality to our team. I think he's a really big part of our team. I think, you know, it's something that is kind of uncommon with you know, DPS players, is that he actually has like really good communication in terms of like planning and stuff like that, and I think that brings a lot to our team. And you know, I think the kid's definitely a star, and I think he can really shine.
All right, so you're 6-12 after this win, and of course that's the end of your Summer Showdown qualifiers. But there's one stage left remaining. Of course, you're still in the play-in hunt. Of course, you have one of those spots. So how are you going to prepare for next stage? What's your plan for the stage break coming up?
Well, after this match, gonna take a nice long sleep tonight, take a break, kind of chill, and you know, going into next stage is kind of, you know, back to the same old, you know, working hard, reviewing, figuring things out, and you know, just being the best team we can be. I think that we have potential, and it's time to really, you know, live up to it.
Yeah, for sure. Nice to cap off the stage with a win, of course. Well, congratulations on today's win, Crimso, and I wish you the best of luck in the next stage.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Crimso, and back to you, Danny.
All right, thank you, Jonathan Reinforce Larson and Crimso for the interview. And that was a nice stuff.
I was scared to hurt you.
We have so many cards lying around because Custo was like, yo, it's really fun.
And he never cleans them up.
I do clean them up. I pick them up all the time.
Three.
There's three. That's because you threw one, Johnny threw one, and I threw one.
You're like one of those players
one.
in the comms check where it's like, oh, a messy desk. Like, it's always Costa. It's just,
No way. I have a
there's
very
like 3
clean
coffees
desk.
down here and like water bottles.
I'm a very clean person. When I was on Valiant, I'm going to throw someone under the bus. Agilities, bad desk cleanliness. Also, XQC when I was on the Dallas field, as you can imagine.
Dude, I lived
it
with
was,
it.
yeah, XQC.
Whoa.
No, you should see that desk. It was the worst. He's a messy man.
I mean, and also, I think I have to say, I think my 2 favorite players from the Overwatch League are now Seeker and Punk.
Both on Boston.
That was pretty good.
I'm not shaking. The reverse sweep was crazy, but I mean, Seeker's debut match, and he really popped off. Like, okay, I have a question for you, Costa. So, how are you liking this new Boston Uprising? Do you think this will work better for the team in the future, or, you know, What are your thoughts?
It's not even an objective opinion, okay? We've looked at the numbers, we've seen the graphics. When Punk is in the lineup for the Boston Uprising, when did he join the team? 2020? Late 2020?
Something like
2021?
that.
Something around there.
Competed with Guy Bulsey.
Yeah, he's competed with a million tanks, it feels like, at this point. There have been so many players who have tried to bench him, try and push him to the side, and every time, regardless of which tank hero he has to play, he steps up and he gets the win. And he's done it once again. This Boston Uprising team tried to go full Korean with the acquisition of Mag, and it just didn't work out. Yes, they played hard teams. It's not just Mag's fault, but the results are the results, and we get to see another great win from Punk. But as you said, Danny, Seeker, with his first match into the Overwatch League, you can't ask for better than what he put on